Welcome to Circuit Ricardo Torma, Valencia for race 1 of 2 for the GT European Series, powered by Pirelli. The stage is set. The scene, 14 turns, tightly twisted across the hillside just outside the city of Valencia. Nearly 30 degrees. It's warmer than expected at late September. Track temperatures may be an issue. This race is an hour long and it's already 33 degrees. Field of cars are working their way around to the start line, and we've got 5 different makes of cars in the top 5 positions. That's very encouraging indeed, but it's Philippe Pret who's taken pole position in his McLaren. And you can see the cars on the grid forming up there in position. The last few cars are coming around. It's an 8-car grid today, and we've got one car that was qualified 4th but was put to the back of the grid for seemingly intentional contact, and that's a car that started the season in fine form with 4 wins and 2 second places in the first races. But let's go down to the grid and hear from Alex, who's caught up with Matto Homola, and his car will be starting from 2nd.
Matto, this is your first front row pairing as a duo with Victor. What is it that's made you guys fit so well together?
You know, the track suits us, suits the KTM because it's technical, and the car really likes that. And also, yeah, we've done a really good job with the setup, and also Victor was driving perfectly, you know, in this AM qualifying. It's first time with him in GT2 for me. Honestly, he's my, let's say, driver that I coach for 2 years, and he's first time with me in the race car in GT2. So he's really good. He's done a really good job. He improved since yesterday a lot, and yeah, I think we are a good pairing, and hopefully it will be a successful day for us.
That's a really nice story. And obviously he's amazing then if you've been training him. Does your car feel suited to Valencia?
I think so. We are not so fast on the straight, so we were struggling in the previous meetings, for example in Paul Ricard, etc., in the long straights. But here in the technical layout, the KTM is good, you know. So yeah, we are also looking forward for the second half of the race, because there will be really important to have good tires till the end of the race, and yeah, the KTM should be good in that. So we will see.
It's not been the easiest of years, has it? So it'd be nice to have a good finish. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Alex Legui. Best finish so far this season for Matto Homola. 2nd place in the second of 2 races at Spa-Francorchamps. And a nice, neat job. I mean, last year was the first season he stepped up to try GT2. For years he's been racing those silhouette touring cars in TCR series across the world, but certainly a step forward, and clearly bringing Victor Maratz with him on that journey. He'll be starting on the pit wall side. That's the side closer, well, the side at the lower part of the screen. In the upper part of the screen, it's a Maserati, car number 1 on pole position. Philippe Pret just watched his son have a good run in the GT World Challenge for the GT3 cars, but his red, white and blue Maserati sits there on pole position. Another Maserati, sorry, his McLaren is there, I beg your pardon. And just tucked in behind. Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. It's Maserati on pole position. I can't read my own writing, but Maserati 1st and 3rd. The second car is the number 7. It's gold and black and looks very attractive indeed. And that will be Roberto Pampanini who'll be kicking off in that one. So an 8-car field, and but we're hearing exciting things about how this field is going to be boosted, Joe, in 2026 with a scholarship drive that, well, we're bringing in silver class drivers to have a class of their own. And at the end of that, the top silver crew will pick up a paid-for GT3 drive in the GT World Challenge in 2027, which is a phenomenal prize.
Yeah, as any young driver, which the silver-graded driver is, of course, they're that young pro trying to break through the ranks to become a professional GT driver. And GT2 is now going to support that through the ranks. So if the driver is in a Maserati or a Mercedes GT2, the winner from that will get that paid drive. And we have Ginetta joining next year as well on the GT2 grid. So yes, the grid isn't where SRO want it to be, but there's a plan in place to get it where it should be.
Absolutely so. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go down to where we could be. Let's hear from Mauro Calamia down on the grid with Alex.
mathematically, you're keeping the title fight alive, starting P3. Knowing what you know of the KTM and of Philippe, what can you boys do from P3?
Yeah, we hope a lot. we have one goal, and that is to take the victory, because otherwise the championship will be gone for us. I think the Lambo is starting a bit in the back, so maybe it can help us. At the start, he will try to stay cool in the car, and after that, full push.
Is the car suited to Valencia?
Sorry, there?
Is the car suited to this circuit?
Yeah.
Well, best of luck then.
Thank you.
Yep, certainly it is. Anyhow, just to give you a little outlook, we've got 8 cars on the grid, split between 4 in the Pro-Am class and 4 in the Am class. The car closest to us, red, white and blue, the KTM Motorsports a Lamborghini, that's the one that's been put to the back of the grid, but that's the one that's leading the championship. We just heard Mario Calamia talking about they've got to win to stay in the title hunt. But still, at this point, 51 points to play for. The gap between them is, with simple maths, 45 points. So victory for them, and a bit of a disaster, and no points being scored by Broniek and Stefan Racina will have to be what they're looking for. But anyhow, we had the most incredible GT3 race earlier today, and certainly this track does provide opportunity. Of course, there will be a pit stop in the middle, and there are some success penalties. The car starting from pole position, the Maserati of Philippe Pret, that will be at a standstill for an extra 14 seconds over the standard 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Tell you what, let's go back down to the grid and hear from Neil Montserrat, who'll be with Alex on the grid.
Hello, it's not been the easy, we can walk and talk if you want. Perfect. It's not been the easiest of days for you here so far, but what can you boys do from back here?
Yeah, it's not been an easy quali one. Alberto did great, but the competence is very high. His little cars was very good level. Quali 2 was very, very good on my side. The car, we have a good balance, so I think Alberto can move forward, so we can get up few positions. He can give me the car in a good position, and I can finish the race, hopefully in the Podium Pro-Am, let's see.
Good. Fighting talk. Thank you very much.
Nice work, Alex. Walk and talk, that's the way to do it. So Alberto De Martin will be starting the NM Racing Team Mercedes. That will be handed over to the driver we've heard from there, Neil Montserrat, such a supporter of course, he is NM Racing Team, but supporting GT2 strongly. And here we have the cars, doors up, in the case of the KTM, the lid raised, and these spectacular, powerful cars, 700 plus horsepower to play with the extravagant rear wings. Look at the size of those on their tails, sort of visually very clear. They're a little more high performance. The big air scoop marks out the Audi, and that is Luca Piri, who's one of 3 drivers in this race who will be going solo, doing both parts of this race. The other 2 are Philippe Pret on pole position and Oliver Framer. There's his black and gold Lamborghini, AKF Motorsport on the back row, car number 24. So an hour of racing ahead. This circuit, 14 turns, around just over 4 kilometres, 4.005 kilometres to be pedantic. But the stage is set. What will the drivers get up to?
Yeah, it's going to be hard pace, isn't it, at the start? It's a long race. Track temp has been rising all day. Has now started to plateau and fall at 33 degrees. Air temperature just sub 30, 29.8. And the 1 minute board. So this is the final chance. There's that KTM lid getting closed. The mechanic making sure the latches are good. The final mechanic vacates, and now it's down to the driver. Final check of your belts, your traction control, ABS systems, even the AC in these settings. This is the final chance, really, to make sure, before you light the fuse of your GT2 rocket for the next 1 hour of this race.
So with the drivers concerned, they still know they've got a further race meeting to follow on the opening weekend, the 11th and 12th of October at Barcelona. So it won't be done and dusted today, but certainly I think by the time we leave Valencia tomorrow evening, we'll have a far clearer picture. But in the overall championship, the Pro-Am Championship, a 45-point lead for Broniek, Formaniec and Stefan Racina is tidy, it's comfortable. They will be starting from the back of the grid. They'll have to mind their P's and Q's and see what they can get up to. But with an hour of racing, that's a comfortable position, really. And in the AM class, our driver on pole position, who was champion in AM last year, Philippe Pret, the man from Monaco, he is sitting on a very tidy margin of 52 points over Christophe Bourret and Pascal Guibon, who are not here to try and close that gap. So you'd have to suggest he's got one hand firmly around the season trophy in that case.
Yeah, it really does. Big snap of oversteer from the 7 Maserati there. They pulled away from the line. That's a good way to wake yourself up for Pampinini there as he starts this formation lap.
Track conditions very different to how they were this morning, but let's run down the grid. Pole position and top in am, Philippe Pret in the LP Racing Maserati alongside the KTM of RTR Projects Victor Ras. Then Roberto Pampinini, the second of the Maseratis entered by Dynamic Motorsports on this occasion. Petrolisa, RTR Projects Mercedes will start fourth. Luca Pirri, one of the solo drivers, his LP Racing Audi from fifth, and Alberto De Martin, the Mercedes of NM Racing Team, sixth. Seventh, Oliver Fremuth driving solo in his AKF Motorsport Lamborghini, and Bronick Formignac bringing up the rear. His car, his Michanek Motorsport Lamborghini, demoted to the rear of the grid for what apparently seemed to be intentional contact with another car during the course of the qualifying session. A wrap across the knuckles, but it certainly, judging by the season form, isn't something that may necessarily bar he and his teammate Stefan Racina from coming through to win. They've already got 4 wins in the bag. 2 seconds, a third and a sixth. But 4 races still to go. This is the first of the brace at Valencia, the circuit Ricardo Torme, just outside town. And a lot of space for racing when you're starting with 8 cars, but you still need to be judicious in your attack, and certainly we'll see if that can be the case from Bronick Formignac. And having got a little bit upset this morning, he's paid the price, starting from the back of the grid. So Philippe Pret on pole position. It's Maserati ahead of the KTM of Victor Maratz. Maratz, as we heard from his driver coach and teammate, young in racing experience, but Mato Homola is bringing him on, and clearly he's done a very, very tidy in job indeed to get on the outside of the front row.
Yeah, what can this 11 car do? What's its plan? It should have been 4th on the grid, so it's got 3 cars directly in front that are slower in qualifying trim. The Lamborghini seemed to work its front tyres slightly too hard, and it seemed to fall off pace-wise, whereas the Maseratis, Mercedes and Audi seemed to be able to keep up that metronomic pace slightly more. But that was qualifying, and this is the race.
So trying to get into their 2x2 formation as they approach the end of this 14-turn lap. But of course, it'll all be all eyes on the start, the lights on the starting gantry when they get to see it, when they've come out of that final corner, waiting to take the start of this race. 1 hour of racing lies ahead of us. Down to the final corner they go. Turn 13 fuses into 14. The track tightens up, and then it's all eyes on the lights on the gantry. Maserati from KTM, followed by Maserati ahead of Mercedes, then Audi, making it 4 makes in the top 5 positions on the grid. And look for the start from the Lamborghini, top left of your screen. Will Bronick Formignac try and put it all back on the run to the first corner? Looks neat and tidy from poleman Philippe Pret. Gets his nose in front, waiting. Lights still green. Now they go green from red. He's got a little bit ahead, and certainly lots of intent from the Mercedes race there. Petrolisa going wide and maybe able to sweep into the first corner in front. He's level. Can he get ahead of the pole sitter? We can get side by side. Oh dear, and unfortunately the other Mercedes are getting a little bit of trouble and running a little bit wide. That was Alberto De Martin, but poleman Philippe Pret just presides and remains at the front. Pampinini in the second of the Maseratis. Looks so he's moved into second place. Good move from him.
Yeah, it was a great start originally from Petrolisa. It's the KTM, isn't it, of Maraz that's gone backwards. We can see it in the middle of the pack. Formignac has picked off 2 of the cars so far. The back row is now behind him, so he can start to crack on. He's looking like he's trying to get down the inside of Maraz, who's going down the inside of Pirelli. That was nearly 3 into 1, all doing well to avoid contact. Big slide there as well for the Mercedes. That car got a problem. It doesn't seem to be at the pace I expect.
No, it looks like it's actually smoking from the rear. Let's hope that's just overfilled, but yeah, falling away somewhat at the back of the pack. But Philippe Pret resisted that pressure at the front, and the pole starting Maserati now settling down, and lots of pressure there on Luca Pirri in his Audi, trying to go around the outside Bronick Formignac, but I think he'll run out of road there. Yeah, he's realised that too, so he tries to cut back and go up the inside, coming towards out of turn 11 down to 12. Such a tricky corner uphill. You described it earlier. It's like threading the eye of a needle as you approach it.
Yeah, wearing oven gloves. I think I tried to add the difficulty level here. And Pirri doesn't want to chicken out, does he, against this battle with Formignac, who's now putting it down the inside. He's starting to look too often. This is what we see. You start to look every corner and the driver doesn't really know what's going on. And Pirri now probably starting to look in his mirror a little bit less than he was the lap before. My only fear for Philippe Pret in the lead of this race is that he did look quite over the grid boxes as they took the start. It was slightly central, and we have seen penalties as now Formignac gets that move done on Pirri, and he can start to make his escape. But Pirri back down the inside, breaks earlier than Formenac, who claims the inside. Another position. That's 3 places now for the Lamborghini of Formenac.
Yeah, Pirri was very polite there, but he realised it was going to happen sooner or later, and so Formenac now, next target up the track, is the car that started second on the grid. It's Victor Maratz in his KTM. But it's the 2 Maseratis, first and second, Philippe Pret, Roberto Pampanini. Pampanini and his teammate Mauro Calamia were confident before the race, but they said, we're second in the championship, we're way down on points on Formenac and Stefan Racina. They're behind us, we've got to keep them behind us, but it really, for a lot of the crews at this point in the championship, only a win in their class or a win outright will do for them today to stay in the hunt. Certainly both the AM and the Pro-Am categories are led by some margin. In fact, in the case of Pro-Am, it's a 45-point margin for Formenac and Racina over Calamia and Pampanini. And Philippe Pret, look at him leading the race. He is way clear. He's got a 52-point margin over a crew who aren't over here. That's Christophe Bouret and Pascal Guibon. So he is sitting very pretty indeed. But he's sitting with a lot of pressure because the black and gold similar Maserati behind him is pressing all the time. Roberto Pampanini looking confident. We heard from his teammate Mauro Calamia. He too is confident.
Yeah, this gap has come down over the lap. It was 7 tenths last time across the stripe. It has now come down to just 3 tenths. That's because the gold Maserati there in second, purple sector 1, 2 and 3, they were stolen from him by Bronick Formenac in 2, and then Luca Pirri in sector 3. So it's an even split across the sectors between the manufacturers. But at the moment, this car, Pampanini, is all over the back of Pret. Pret will be looking in his mirrors. Of course, they're the same car, so they've got very similar strengths and weaknesses run by different teams. They'll be racing for Philippe Pret, Dynamic Motorsport. We're so used to talking to them about Porsches, aren't we? But they seem to have got on top of this GT2 Maserati MC20 well, and at the moment, Pampanini is the one with the pace.
Well, I think this is a point at which Petrolisa may be able to go, hey, this is looking good. RTR Projects Mercedes, there it is in 3rd place. It's black and it's red. His best finish so far this season has been a class-winning 5th place overall. He's had the 3 5th places, but he's running in 3rd. But of course, he is driving in a 2-driver lineup with a fellow racer from the Czechia, Andrei Rokos, coming to take over the second part of the race. But for now, Petrolisa is pretty much where he wants to be. Can't quite keep up with those Maseratis, but he's hanging on pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, I thought he was going to take the lead into turn 1. He sent it round the outside, Pret round him wide, and then you could see Petrolisa actually into turn 2, his head looking left, trying to work out was anyone on his inside. Maybe went a bit too cautious in hindsight, but he's in 3rd place, so he'll be happy with that. Pampanini still sitting with Pret here. These GT2 cars, less aero than GT3, so they're less sensitive to the dirty air. 700 horsepower as well, so the slipstream effect is strong in these cars. They'll be getting over 270 kilometers an hour before they brake here for turn 1. And really, it's a 3-car train, isn't it, breaking away. There's Formenac back in 5th, just behind the KTM. And Pret having to defend rather aggressively from Pampanini. Can Pampanini get the move done?
Well, if it's not going to happen now, it's going to happen very soon indeed. Philippe Pret says no, moves across his nose. Absolutely his right to do so, but certainly the pressure is coming on all the time from Pampanini, and Roberto's been a front runner for quite some while in GT2 racing. His cars always look superb. The level of presentation, fantastic. That gold livery really working very, very nicely indeed. Sunny here. Oh, well, there you go. If you like to show the sponsors side on. Suddenly, there is a massive gift. Is there a problem? Was it just a mistake? And he's tried to collect it. Petrolisa said, no, I'm going to be taking second place from you. And then Pampanini's going, no, you're not. I'll have it back again at the following corner. But that was a big, big sideways moment. I didn't see if it just got loose over the curb, or was it already starting to move sideways and get away from him? How did you read that one?
I think he's just picked the throttle up ever so slightly too early, and it's just snapped out on him. He was just off the racing line as well, so not quite as much grip out there. He's always got a big smile anyway, but Philippe Pret would have looked in his mirror and had a huge smile as he saw the Mercedes running side by side with Pampanini. That's now given him a gap of nearly 2 seconds as this man, Bronick Formenac, is starting to have to defend from Luca Pirri. The car got past relatively easy, and this is what I thought in qualifying. The Lamborghini quick over a lap, then seemed to go through its tyre.
Yeah, but just look what's happening. That mistake from Roberto Pampanini has opened up the lead enormously. It's gone out to, 2.25 seconds, but in behind, second and third fighting hard. But of course, Petrolisa briefly in the second has fallen back to 3rd. Then the trio behind really is a trio Victor Moraz doing nicely, Broniek Formignac tucked behind and Luca Pirri behind him, but you're quite right, Pirri's closing in, and having lost ground on the opening lap, Alberto De Martini in the background in that silver Mercedes from NM Racing team is starting to pick up the pace. We both thought there was a bit of a problem on the opening lap, but whatever it was, seems to be closing back again, seems to be okay. He's in 7th and he's got a big margin over Oliver Freymuth, who's bringing up the rear in his Lamborghini in 8th overall.
Yeah, no tyre warmers in this series, so potentially just the pressures coming up was De Martin's problem, and now it's gone. So here we go. We pick up the throttle, but we're also too wide. Look at the rear right tyre. It's not quite on the racing line. It's a great save. You can see the brake lights on there as well, but that just kills momentum. That gives Petrolisa a chance to get down the inside. But actually, Pampini did well then to get the space back, because he has got the pace, although over the next lap, the Sector 1 is he's lost another second to Pret, and that's why the gap is now over 3 seconds. So as Philip Pret steadied the ship, was Pampinini starting to rock the boat.
Yeah, just looking to see what's going to happen in that battle, because certainly Luca Pirri at the back in the white, red and black Audi is closing onto the tail of Bronislav Formignac there, but keeping it on. But Petrolisa, there we are, look at him, 294. Mercedes entered by RCR Projects. So many years, again, you'd say RCR Projects, KTM, but they're branching out, trying the three-pointed star. And then tucked in behind Victor Moraz, Formignac and Luca Pirri. Where's the next move going to come? Effectively, the battle from Pampinini backwards after that little mistake is closing up. It was a 2-car train followed by a 3-car train. It's now 5 cars almost nose to tail. We're looking at the tail of that battle. Luca Pirri at the back. In front is the Lamborghini. And that's Formignac. And in front of him is the KTM of Victor Moraz, the Mercedes of Petrolisa. And the car in second place, the Maserati in second place, maybe 3.5 seconds down on our race leader, but Roberto Pampinini is still there. It's gold, it's black, it's number 7, and it's in second place.
Yeah, if they were to pit this lap for their mandatory pit stop, which they can't because they cannot do it for another 16 minutes and 7 seconds, it would actually be this car in the lead with the penalties to cars in front. The car in front has 7 seconds extra and the leader of Pret has 14. So at the moment, this car would become our leader. That has got to be Petrolisa's mantra here. He just needs to be keeping in the distance. So within 14 seconds of the lead, 7 within Pampinini. And at the moment, this is easy for him to achieve that. We've seen the KTM out the corners puffing out that bit of unburnt fuel. We're used to that, so if you are watching for the first time, don't be alarmed. That isn't a problem for the KTM, just how that Audi turbo engine works. On the off throttle, it's just the unburnt fuel. Then driver picks the throttle up, it's got to go somewhere, and it comes out the exhaust. Rather spectacular fashion.
Now, having had the gap for that second place battle, increase the race leader with that little switch from Roberto Pampinini, the pass by Petrolisa and then the repass by Pampinini to put his Maserati back into second place. I really sensed it was closing up, but now I think it's sort of playing very, very equal. Race leader going through again, Philippe Pret, his Maserati first. This gold one is in second place. That's Roberto Pampinini. Petrolisa is just over a second back behind him. Most of the gaps, until you get to the gap from Rats back to Formignac, 1 and a bit seconds, and thereafter that's hard, 6 and 7/10 of a second. But where is the move going to come? You picked up before, Joe Osborne, that the Lamborghini seems to start well and then really begin to suffer with tyre wear. And at the moment, the initial pace that we saw from the Lamborghini driver, Broniek Formignac, it really seemed to be able to go 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, but he hasn't, and he's still sitting there in 5th place.
You've got 3 options. Is it the car that's working the tyre too hard? Is it the driver fatiguing? Is it the setup of the team for that car? And all they can really do in the pit stop is they'll change the driver, so we'll see what Racina can do. They can adjust the tyre pressure. So if the tyre pressures are coming up too high, as it goes in super deep there, it's going to give Pirri a good chance. And this is exactly what we're talking about. That car does not look drivable in race trim, and it can be very quick over a lap, but that isn't what's important in the race, where you're going to be pumping in 40 laps. The car needs to be drivable. At the moment, this 11 mixed Czech motorsport car is not that.
Yeah, looking at the form that Luca Pirri has in the Audi at the back of that train, you sense if he can get past the Lamborghini, he ought to have the pace to start catching those in front, but he's still behind, Where's it going to come? 14 turns around the lap, and Formignac doing everything right, just keeping his car where it can be, but with each lap, he's just falling away from the tail of that red and black KTM. In 4th place overall, driven by Victor Moraz, who's gaining experience with every lap. His margin over Formignac, 1.3 seconds. That's actually finally giving him breathing space. There's the gap, 1.3 seconds. Then the Lamborghini followed by the Audi. So Formignac followed by Pirelli. So they're just falling away a little bit as they battle, as they nip and tuck and look for an advantage. Final couple of corners, in fact, that's the high view looking down at the cars. Amazing drone shots. They really had just been such a boon in contemporary motor racing. Not everybody uses them yet, but they do provide a sight we've never had before. Yes, you could have had a helicopter thing, but you can't fly your helicopter as low over the circuit as you can with the drones. So it's providing a whole new way of looking at racing, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I don't want to drone on about it, but it is just phenomenal, the dynamic it gives of that dynamic. Maserati coming into this tricky turn 8, and you get a good concertina effect there. We talk about cars going off, cars that aren't going off. Philip Pret last time by fastest lap of the race. Also the KTM, you can just see in the back of this 3-car battle, did its fastest lap of the race. And if you do want any of the live timing, it's all available online, but also the GT World app, free to download on Android and on iOS, completely free, as I said, and it gives you a great insight, not just to the pictures you're seeing, but more to what the teams are looking at as well, so you can become an armchair expert, as it were.
I've been trying for years, still clawing away at it, but just looking now, Victor Moratz in 4th place is starting to close on Petrolizza. You can just see the KTM we've been talking about. Now we're taking a look. This is 2nd place. This is Roberto Pampinini. He's now 6 seconds and slightly more down on race leader Philippe Pret. So it's Maserati from Maserati, but Petrolizza closing in under a second back in 3rd place. The red and black Mercedes, and then behind that, catching the pair of them, is Victor Moratz. He just, as the Lamborghini behind him, Formignac had to fight with the Audi of Luca Pirri. That just gave the chance for Victor Moratz to concentrate on what's up ahead, and that's allowed him to just get closer and closer. He's still in 4th, but he's still in the hunt.
Yeah, and that was a great shot, wasn't it, to illustrate what a 6.182 second gap looks like between Pret and this gold and black Maserati of Pampinini, and at the moment is now over 7 seconds. So with the pit stops coming, that would mean that Pret stays in front of Pampinini, but Petrolizza would get in front of both of them. And this really is the car with the pace at the moment, and we know how quick Rockash can be as well in the AM car. It's then really the Pro-Am cars of Calamia that will take over from Pampinini. Moratz has started well in the KTM, seems to be getting better, and we spoke to his coach Hommler, didn't we, on the grid, so they could be in the mix. And already we're talking of 3 different manufacturers, but also Luca Pirri has been fast in the Audi. What can Racina do in the Lamborghini? It is a hard race to call right now when you factor in the compensation times.
Yeah, so as we said before the start of the race, 3 of the drivers are racing solo, and it's the race leader Philippe Pret who's the best placed of all of those. And now the last few laps, it really has been a case of the KTM getting closer and closer. Bit of a lunge there at the final corner, didn't really work, and unfortunately it's actually slightly hindered Victor Moratz. So Coach Matt Hommler will go, yeah, there are places to pass on the circuit. Whatever you do, do not lose any momentum that you possibly can that's going through the final corner, because it's followed by the longest straight on the circuit. When I say the longest, I effectively mean the only straight that's long enough to be called a straight. So that was a learning moment for the KTM driver, but you can't fault him for trying. Victor Moratz and that number 89 KTM, half a second down on Petrolizza's Mercedes at the start of the lap, but actually I think another lap he could have just waited, but he does have the pace, Joe, to get back onto the tail of the 3rd place Mercedes, and that in turn is hardly falling off the back of Roberto Pampinini's Maserati.
Yeah, positive of the KTM. It is the lightest car on the grid. So if you're new to GT racing, of course, balance of performance, BOP, is how we get all these manufacturers to do the same lap times. And to do that, they're all given their strengths and weaknesses. The Mercedes fastest in a straight line. The KTM, the fastest in the high-speed corners. You can see the shape of it, and that allows it to carry that speed. But to make them do the same lap time, you have to adjust the weight, the ride height, the power allowed to them. And this is why we're able to have all these manufacturers following each other so closely, and it makes it down to the drivers and to the teams.
Race leader Philippe Pret continues to stretch away, and in fact, to tell you what, I'll continue to talk about the point I was raising. 3 drivers in this race, including race leader Philippe Pret, will be going solo. They'll do the entirety of this 1-hour race. At the back of the field, Oliver Freymuth, he will be doing all of the race in his Lamborghini. Another push, almost a shove. It was a shove. It was a dive up the inside for Victor Moratz. Made a bit of a mistake a couple of laps ago at this corner, and afraid he caught the tail of Petrolizza. So suddenly Formignac, who wasn't threatening at all, has vaulted from 5th overall. Luca Pirri's followed him through as well. But it looks as both those cars could get going again, but it seems only right that the Mercedes would get ahead. Well, I don't know if that was just manners, because the KTR was the one who spun him around. Right, If it finishes as it is, good. Okay, the KTM back into the race. Chalk it up for experience. Broniak, Formignac and Stefan Racina sitting on a very tidy advantage. Let's take a look at what happened. Talk us through this, Joe.
It's just a long way back. At the start of the move, it doesn't look on. He then gets it stopped well. The problem he does, the first replay we got was the distance between the two cars. The KTM has effectively sat in the blind spot of the Mercedes, and Petrolisa hasn't seen him, hasn't expected him, and has turned in, quite rightly in my opinion, and Meraz has made it a bit of a lunge. What makes it worse? Both run by the same team, RTR Project, so the first rule of motorsport, don't hit your teammate, has evaporated there. I think that could be a penalty for the KTM of Meraz as well. And I don't want to go on about it, but the gap between the cars, it seems counterintuitive to maybe people at home, but when you overtake, you want to be as close to each other as possible. Two reasons. One, you can feel the mirror of the car, so you're not in the blind spot. The second one, if you do have contact, the side-to-side nature of it, it's more of a glancing blow than a sharp, severe angle, which then rotates the car, which we've seen there. So if we get another view of it, the KTM of Meraz just needed to be closer to the Mercedes. It wasn't a stupid overtake. There was an opportunity. It just didn't work out, and the timing was all out.
Again, it's all about gaining experience. You can imagine you sense you're faster, but you've got to find your moment. Which of the 14 corners will provide that opportunity? But at least half of them provide no opportunity whatsoever. But the Lamborghini in the background, red, white and blue one, that's Mikinek Motorsport, and suddenly Broniak Formignac was running around in fifth. There was nothing he do about a couple of the cars up ahead of him, and suddenly he's had a gift. Started stone last, and this is not what we want to see. This is the NM Racing Team Mercedes coming in, Alberto De Martin, and that doesn't look like a planned pit stop.
Too early.
Dolly jacks out too early indeed. So the dolly jacks, that's a problem for the NM Racing Team. They're going to wheel that round and pivot it round, wheel it into the garage and try and sort it out. Because don't forget, not only have we got another race tomorrow, but it's not long to the end of the season. So every bit of track time, if they can fix it and get it back out there, at least they can gain some experience or find out what the problem is or whether they've sorted the problem ahead of tomorrow's race, which is the second of two here at Valencia.
This man, big smile, already mentioned it, he will now lead the race after the pit stop penalties, even with the 14 seconds, because Pampanini has an extra 7. Formignac handing over to Racina has another 5, and then he's going to be clear of that Luca Piri car as well. So, well deserved. He held his nerve into turn 1. He held his nerve for the first few laps with Pampanini all over the back of him, and now he is just galloped clear, just been pumping in very consistent lap times, always in the 35s or the 36s here for Philip Pret. And this car with number 1 is absolutely driving a perfect race thus far.
Down to turn 1, neat, tidy, not exceeding track limits. Lots of other people have been, but look, left-hand wheels or one set of wheels still within the white line. So job being done neatly, tidily, and the gap going out with every lap. Last lap he gained the best part of a second, 9/10 of a second over the second of the Lamborghinis. That's Lamborghini, I've washed my mouth out, the Maseratis. And the second one is number 7, driven by Roberto Pampanini. But Philippe Pret will be tired at the end of this race, because here he is leading it in number 1, but he's doing the whole race solo. He'll come in for his pit stop, and his pit stop will, as Joe pointed out, be an extra 14 seconds. But the good thing for him, the person who's challenging class, will have a pit stop that's 7 seconds shorter, but is running about 14 seconds behind. So this pit stop, when it eventually comes around for either of these runners in the front end of the field, they should revert into the second part of the race in the same order. So all Philippe Pret can do is press on, press on, press on, just add more fractions of seconds. He's neat, he's tidy, he's doing it, and he's 11 and a bit seconds clear at the moment of Roberto Pampanini.
Yeah, and just on De Martin there, you can see the pit stop timer, so that's going to be important when they make their pit stops. This car we're looking at will have to be in the pit lane for 150 seconds, so where De Martin's car is now, that's how much time he will lose. Of course, he's got the ability to get out, just make sure everything's okay, and then he has to get back into that car. And at the moment, he's able just to stroke it home, isn't he? He's looking precise, but not on the ragged edge. He's probably got another half a second at least in the pocket if he were to need it. But right now, he does not. The first 21 and a bit minutes have gone swimmingly for Philip Pret.
The battle in behind them, Roberto Pampanini here, second, third and fourth. And now suddenly Broniek Formignac is getting closer and closer in his number 11 Lamborghini. And he's still got for company Luca Piri. Luca second in the AM class, that's being led by race leader Philippe Pret. Third in the AM class, Petrolisa, of course. He was the one spun around by Victor Moras. So disappointing for him. Still the the De Martin car, the NM Racing team. Mercedes driven by Alberto De Martin still in the pit garage. So disappointing for the Spanish team on home ground in Spain here in Valencia.
Yeah, and hopefully whatever the problem is, either like you said, Bruce, they can fix it and check all is okay now, because they will just go straight into the race tomorrow for the GT2s. They did both qualifyings already, so race 2 grid is already set for tomorrow, so they might just want to do a bit of a shakedown run there. Here's Luca Piri, we've already said, by himself. Should have had a teammate in the Stefan Rettel, the SR of SRO. Unfortunately, Stefan unable to join us this weekend, but Luca Piri so far doing a very sterling job by himself.
Well, you can be sure that Stefan Rettel, wherever he is on the globe, will have watched the first GT World Challenge race with enormous interest, and probably also getting his head in the hands. And then suddenly the move came, and it came very easily. Sorry, I just jumped across to what's happening on track, and Broniek Formignac has moved up from 5th to 3rd to 2nd, and also looking to go past Roberto Pampanini's Maserati. On the left-hand side of the track is the driver who just been talking about, Luca Piri. He's going to run out of straight before he gets into position, but actually Pampanini trying to fight back down into the first corner. Sharp intake of breath, but he'll be slower on the exit because of that, and suddenly Luca Piri's going, this is my moment, this is my moment. Oh, just not quite. Just has to tuck back into position, going up into turn 2 at the highest point of the lap.
It's getting racy there, isn't it? We might only have 7 cars on track right now, but these 3 are going at it hard, and there's a good move by Formignac, and that progress bar has ticked his way, runs deep there as well, so really not an easy car to drive at the moment. We've already touched on that, so Formignac having to work hard here. He will be very hot when he gets out of that 11 car, and he'll be pleased to see Stefan Messina thunder down pit lane and take over the reins.
Yeah, take it away. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and all along they're falling behind race leader Philippe Pret by another fraction here, a fraction there. 14 seconds in arrears, nose to tail. They're only going to slow each other rather than speed each other up, and Luca Piri at the back, actually, I fancy could be the quickest of this group, but the dice have not fallen his way. Every time he looks, so he's about to make a move to pass Formignac. He's thwarted, and now he's got someone between him. He's got the Maserati, been running 2nd in the early stages of the race, and Roberto Pampanini is the meat in the sandwich. Lamborghini, Maserati and Audi, nose to tail, the battle for 2nd. Now Victor Moras is trying to make a comeback. He fell down to 7th overall, had to wait for the rest of the field to come through after a little stumble, a little fumble. Had him facing the wrong way in that tussle with Petrolisa. Petra's got back to 5th overall, but it took longer for the KTM driver to get it hooked up, but he's caught and passed Oliver Framuth, so he's up to 6th place. Petrolisa, though, is about 7 seconds further up the track, so he really lost out big time with that ambitious move down into turn 14, but he's young in his career, Victor Moras, and he will, I'm sure, learn from that.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy done, and no one makes a mistake on purpose, and he'll watch it back and just want to learn what he could do better.
Entirely so, and unfortunately Petrolisa in the pit lane. However, it's a wise thing because the pit window is open, and he will be handing that over to Andres Rokos. That's the RTR Project's Mercedes.
My fear is, look how long he's been in the pit lane, 20 seconds. How long has the pit window been open? 17. I think he's come in too early and he's driving straight through pit lane because he's realised that, or is it something else? There's a drive-through penalty for car 294.
Okay, that's him, Petrolisa. That is a drive-through.
So that must be for the contact between the KTM and himself at this corner. And my thought process is stumbling because I don't believe
thought it might have been the other way around.
But race control have made the decision, and that's why he was in pit lane, because he's got a drive-through.
Okay, that's interesting. We definitely called it the other way. So Philippe Pret leads by, just wait for it, as the 2nd and 3rd place cars. Now they're all diving into the pit. 2nd, 3rd, but will Piri stay out for another lap? It looks like he is in the Audi, because he's been the one bottled up behind this driver, Formignac, and this driver in the gold and black Maserati. That's Roberto Pampanini. Wise tactic from Luca Piri. And also, he can call the shots. It's his team, his car. He hasn't got a teammate. So Mauro Pampanini will be replaced by Roberto Pampanini replaced by Mauro Calamia. And the other Maserati in the race will continue to go around. This one is being driven solo by Philippe Pret, but he neat and tidy, 17 seconds clear of the field, pressing on the #1 Maserati, the MC20, great looking car. Great big air scoop, almost would be sort of looking like sort of mid-1970s Formula 1 cars. We've got a big ram air on the top. There you can see at the top the other Maserati in the field, but Philippe Pret, APM Maserati, pacing it nicely, and certainly he's had a good season. He's a country mile clear in the AM class. He's had one outright win overall. That was the opening one of the 2 races at Zandvoort, round 2. KTM at a standstill. That was the one we thought might have picked up a drive-through penalty. However, it was the car that had contact with him up at the final corner, the Mercedes, that ended up with the punishment. So Petrolese will have to come round again and actually this time make his pit stop before handing over to Andrzej Rokos. Pret not interested in stopping. Around and round he goes. 17 laps on the board. Luca Piri now in second place because he stayed out. He may well come in this time, or maybe he's going to do another lap or 2 to just build a bit of a cushion. He thought he was faster than Formignac, but the Lamborghini was in front. Now the lid went down on the KTM and then has just come up again. I'm not sure that's it.
The regulation is for GT2. While they're fueling, the door must be closed.
Got it.
That is their door, effectively. A rather large conservatory door, I would grant you, but yeah, no problem for them.
So Maserati leads the race. It has all race, started from pole position in the hands of Philippe Pret, the #1 APM Monaco Maserati, run by LP Racing, and just looking so tidy, really confident, comfortable. A lot of class wins for that in the AM class. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of those so far in 8 races. So on top of his craft, but if he could put an outright victory into his pocket, that's what he's aiming for. Stefan Racina takes over the Lamborghini from KTM Motorsport, and the gold Maserati that had only just been passed by him, now in the hands of Mauro Calamia. Mauro sounded quite confident but when he was on the grid, but is second in the championship and a big deficit to the car that's now in front of him. So he just wanted to keep that behind him, but the Lamborghini is now in front. So that's tricky.
KTM getting back onto track and should stay in front of the lead car, so it doesn't go a lap down. Of course, Philippe Pret still owes us that pit stop, and he'll just be going relatively equidistant in the pit stop, so potentially stopping at the end of this lap. Pit window open for 10 minutes, and we have used 4 minutes and 43 seconds of it thus far.
Okay, what we need to understand is we've pretty much got to the point. Everybody bar Philippe Pret and Luca Piri, this is Philippe Pret, have made their mandatory pit stop. Of course, the first 2 on the track will tumble back, but the margin of advantage for Philippe Pret is very tidy indeed. Let's call it 18 seconds among friends. There's Oliver Frameth, AKF Motorsport. That's been his team for years and years and years, but he's one of the solo drivers, so he's staying on board, just having a little chat to the mechanic as the standard pit stop procedure is run through. 136 seconds is the minimum pit stop time, so 2 minutes and 16 seconds, to which you have success penalty from the previous race, which can add plenty of seconds to your pit stop time. And still our first 2 go round. 17.7 seconds. This Maserati are leading the race. Luca Piri in his Audi started down the order, started in 5th. He's running 2nd. And actually, I fancy in terms of outright pace, the fastest lap will have been set, and indeed has been set, by Philippe Pret. 1 minute 35.8. But what I want to see is what sort of pace the like of Stefan Racina can do in the KTM Motorsport #11 Lamborghini. In from the lead of the race comes Philippe Pret. Only one other car still to make a pit stop, but about 17, 18 seconds behind. We'll see if Luca Piri comes in as well. So LP Racing, the team that runs both these cars, the Maserati and the Audi, doing both their pit stops presumably in fairly similar time, but coming in from 1st and 2nd. Will they be there after the pit stops? We know for a fact that between them, if the gap was only 7 seconds, they'd come out level, because this car has to stay for an extra 14 seconds in the AM, because of it being in the AM class, and winning its class last time out at its pit stop. So it'll be 150 seconds at the pit stop. Luca Pirri will have 7 seconds added to his. So it will be 7 seconds clawed out of the race leader. But to my eye, I'm sort of expecting Formignac and Rosina, who only had an extra 5 seconds at their pit stop, to be much more in the mix.
And Clamia, you can just tell the attitude, can't you? And this is never disrespectful to the amateur driver, but the pro getting in there, hustling the car, and purple sectors being set on the board now. So this car's fastest lap was a 1:36.4. Clamia now his first chance at trying to beat that lap time from his teammate Pamplini. Does that by 1.2 seconds, and that is the difference. It's the pros' job to be fast, of course, so they should be quicker, but just the attitude in the car, you can see vastly different in places.
Now, just in case I didn't mention that the NM Racing team, Mercedes, has not returned to the circuit. It came into the pits before the pit window was open, has been in for the pits for more than 10 minutes, has not returned to the track. So it may well be that Neil Montserrat, we heard from him on the grid, doesn't even get to take part in the first of 2 races for the GT2 European Series here at Valencia. Can't tell you what the problem was. It drove in under its own power, but got swung round into the garage. May yet return to get some practice laps in to go ahead and just get the feeling before tomorrow's second race here at Valencia, but it may well not. Under half the race to go, 27.5 minutes remain. And the race order will Philippe Pret, still in the pits. Remember, he's at the standstill for 14 seconds more. He was slightly more than that clear of the pack, but the point is, can Stefan Rosina, we're looking at his Lamborghini now, are his outlap and his next lap good enough to return him and his car to the lead of the race? Return him to the lead. He hasn't been in the lead as yet. 4th from the back of the grid. The car was put down from 4th to 8th, but some good lap times coming in from Stefan Rosina. It will close the gap, but I still sense that Philippe Pret ought to just squeak out just at the front of this queue. He came in from first, had that tidy margin. Here he goes. He's getting going. Wait for the white line. No, it's going to be very tight indeed. The next 2 cars coming down the pit straight, but I think the Maserati should have enough of a margin. Yeah, it looks like it's about 5, maybe 6 seconds as the chasing bunch come down the hill. And Luca Pirri coming out. He's also driving solo, but he's coming out in 4th place. I thought those extra laps might just move him ahead of this battle, but there's been really good pace from Mauro Calamia in the number 7 Maserati and Stefan Rosina in the number 11 Lamborghini in front. That has been the difference, Joe. Of course, when the pro drivers get in, you do expect them to pick up the pace.
Yeah, these guys half a second a lap quicker than Philippe Pret's fastest lap. So once this gap settles down, I'm going to guess it's going to be around 7 to 8 seconds. That's what Philippe Pret needs to hang on for the remainder of this race. Going to be 12 laps or so, and it's going to be a big battle, isn't it? There's our leader. There are 2 pro-driven cars, Rosina from Clamia, and Clamia all over the back of Rosina. He looks like he's got some good pace, and I'd love for our pit lane reporter, Alexander Legui, to go and speak to Petrolisa to get his take on that penalty. Obviously, the 2 teammates clashing, so I don't want her to get involved in some kind of fight in that RTR Products garage, but it would be interesting to see the driver's take on that one.
Oh, I'm sure Alex can hold her corner very nicely indeed. But yeah, some great scrapping. But right now, Mauro Calamia trying his best to unseat Stefan Rosina. When I say unseat, just get his Maserati past the Lamborghini. Gap between Philippe Pret and the chasing bunch, and then, well, ending up going very wide indeed. Remember that when the other driver, Roberto Pampanini, was in that gold and black Maserati, he had a bit of a sideways moment, collected it very nicely. That took him off the tail of the race leader, Philippe Pret. Philippe then has pressed on. Oh, the pro driver's going much, much deeper into turn 1. Look at the angle of the cars as they come out, just about staying within the circuit. Mauro Calamia was a little more loose, maybe almost 4 wheels over the curbing. This is the battle, not for the lead of the race, not yet, but this is a battle in the Pro-Am class. And for now, it's Stefan Rosina in the Lamborghini just in front, tucked in behind Mauro Calamia. Looking, pushing, probing. Are their lap pace, is their lap pace the same as those in front? Waiting for Philippe Pret to complete his lap. But he was able to lap in below 1:36. They haven't done that yet, but they're getting closer. In fact, I tell you what, Mauro Calamia just did last time around, I beg your pardon. 1:35.4. Mato Homola's going very nicely indeed. He's back in 5th place in the KTM. Remember, his teammate qualified so nicely, and the move coming, and happened.
Just no drive, and then they both go indeed. Rosina should get this back actually, but the Lambo with 0 pace out of the previous corner onto the back straight at turn 6, and then Calamia, a bit of a rush of blood to the head in all fairness, and just missed his braking point at turn number 8 and was unable to do anything. But strange from Racine, I can only assume it was a missed upshift, just a paddle shift system in all of these cars, so no need for clutch, but just looked like he might have brushed the limiter, lost all momentum, and that gave Calamia the chance, who was still sat on the rear bumper.
Well, that's sort of old school. You can imagine that so many races had lead changes, position changes, 50, 60 years ago, when a missed gear change was absolutely commonplace, certainly on street circuits like Monaco. Even the best of the best, the Formula 1 drivers, would have mishaps. Now it's much, much harder to miss a gear. But I tell you what, cracking racing. Down the inside comes the Maserati. And place gain by Mauro Calamia. Can he get out? Staying legal? Just about. Stefan Racina's going, okay, I can't go up your inside. You've blocked me off. Neatly covered there by Mauro Calamia.
I love the open face helmet that Racina wears in that Lamborghini. You can see his whole face. You can always see him grimacing as they broke under their braking point for turn number 2 there. And Racina looks like he's probably going to struggle to stay with Calamia. Calamia, can he go after Philip Pret? Their first sector times have been very similar the first few laps. Philip Pret very, very quick, and actually the gap stagnating at 4.6. They were quicker last time round because of the battle, of course. So this is really now Calamia's chance to get head down and see what he can do.
Yeah, just actually looking to see what's behind them, and it's still Luca Piri. He actually took time off them on the last lap, but bear in mind the last 2 laps, the Lamborghini we're looking at now for Stefan Racina, the number 7 Maserati, that's just moved in front. They've been tussling for position. Now I think they'll be able to pick up their pace, and maybe now they'll start closing the gap to race leader Philippe Pret. He's 5.1 seconds clear. I think they've both got the pace to go off after him. So for Philippe Pret, a driver who has had 60 candles on his birthday cake, so he's doing a fantastic job leading this race, but the chase is on. And Mauro Calamia, the body language of that gold Maserati, it is being taken right to the edge of its adhesion. And now all 3 cars down the start-finish straight. It's Maserati, Philippe Pret, Maserati, Mauro Calamia, Lamborghini, Stefan Racina, and hanging on at the back and actually just closing in, chipping away. We've got Luca Piri, 4th place, and he is running 2nd in the AM class, but of course it's still an AM car leading this race. It's still Philippe Pret.
Obviously this move done a lap ago was for the Pro-Am lead. Maybe overlook that because we're focused on overall results, and that's what's so good about the Q1 session where the bronzers do it. That gives Philip Pret a chance to put it on pole overall historically. That's what he's been able to do, and then it gives him a clean run to be able to get a bit of an advantage over the Pro-Am cars, and that's what's made it so exciting this year. The GT2 field exciting in their own right, but then the multi-class nature of it, and of course we were talking earlier, we're going to add another class next year, the silver class, so that will add another dynamic to this.
It certainly will. And in fact, talking about the AM class, let's just enjoy the race at the moment. The 5-second margin for Philippe Pret. I do think it's going to come down. He is going to be hauled in, I would suggest, by this car, Mauro Calamia. They're running in different classes, though. So if Pret wins the AM class here, not the race, the AM class, he's on course to do both of those, he'd be at least, he would get a 78-point lead. You know what? There are 77 points left to play for after this. So that will be the AM title for the 2nd year running. And here we are. Here is the points predictor in the AM class. Philippe Pret top, Pascal Guibon and Christophe Boré, they're 2nd. They're not here to score any points, and so that would be just enough. But if there is a stumble from Philippe Pret and he has a mishap, doesn't finish this race, that means Petrolisa would also be in the mix. He's running in this race, but of course that was a car that was penalised with an extra run through the pit lane. It's now in the hands of his teammate Andros Rokod. Ifs, buts, maybes, but all Philippe Pret can do is go around in the lead of the race. Is his margin being cut down? Yeah, not really. Not really, and the clock is under 20 minutes remaining of the hour. So we've just passed the 2/3 point in this race. He's been very tidy, Philippe Pret. Controlled the race at the front. There was a challenge on the opening lap, but as soon as he got clear, as those behind struggled, as Roberto Pampanini got a little bit sideways, fell off his tail. Thereafter, he's been able to pull away. But the car in the hands of Pampanini went sideways. This one, the number 7, gold and black Maserati, now looks as though it's starting to close in. Yeah, first sector took a 1/3 of a second out of the race leader. So we're counting down, 19.5 minutes remain. Let's see how quickly this time comes down. Last 2 laps have not been so good for Mauro Calami, but just now I sense he's started to pick up the pace. He's managed to drop Stefan Racina's Lamborghini. That's in fact now 2 and a bit seconds behind him, and now he's only got one focus. It's Maserati chasing Maserati, and it's Calami who's the hunter.
Can he do enough in the late stages? Through Sector 2 actually lost a 10th to Pret in front, so maybe not. We have had Neil Moserat come back out, so they've managed to fix that car. Thank you to Alex Legui for letting me know. Battery issues for the team, so they fixed that, and we've got all 8 cars back on circuit.
Well, that's good news. Lap 23, now 24 now completed by Philippe Pret. 18.5 minutes remain. The gap, 4.5 seconds, so last lap, half a second taken by Mauro Calami. That rate of gain will bring him up onto the tail, but will it be enough? Will Philippe Pret not only just be good in terms of his own race pace, will he be able to defend the lead? I think with every lap, well, it's clearly coming down, but I think his confidence is probably growing. This could be tight, could go to the end, and if he feels like it, he can actually let the other car come through. Of course, he'd like to take a second outright victory in the APM Maserati, but of course, he also just wants to nail this championship. He's nearly got the AM title in the bag. In fact, he's the AM defending champion, but you know what? Racers are racers. They'd like to win the race. They're not going to let another car through.
I think he's going to do it. I've got the faith in him at the moment. Seems to be able to match Calami there and keep the gap as he goes in deep. That's half a second gone. And the problem as a driver, you've now dirtied the tyres, but you're also thinking, I've made a mistake, don't make another mistake. And when you're thinking about mistakes, you make a mistake. And that's what he needs to snap out of. And that's all music to the ears of Calami, who will just be looking ahead, spotting these little differences, and that will allow him to dig that bit deeper to try and get the overall race win.
It is. Mind management is so important in so many sports. It's a bit like, you know, one of my favourite sports, rugby. If a goal kicker misses a couple of kicks in a row, does it stay in the head, or do they approach the next kick as though it's the first one of the game? Same story in motor racing. Same story in golfers who start to blow a few putts. Cricketers, whoever, everyone has a moment where their confidence goes, but it's about suppressing that, putting it to the back of their mind. Right, the gap was 4.5 seconds at the end of the last lap between Philippe Pret and Mauro Calami. 4.0 seconds, another half second taken off. We could do some maths, but let's just wait and see. And now Oliver Framuth is going to be in the path of Philippe Pret. How easily will our race leader get past? Oliver Framuth looking in his mirrors, hopefully, and we'll see the Maserati coming. He'll look at the blue flags as well being waved, someone faster coming. But at this point, we are constantly turning, constantly twisting. This, well, he may well delay the pair of them, but, oh, well done. Moved out of the way. Don't just turn across the bow. No, well done. So he's spotted the marshals, got a message from his pit crew, just didn't want the race leader to be interrupted. And then hopefully Oliver will look in his mirrors and say, oh, one Maserati? Wait all year, and then 2 Maseratis come along at the same time. Hey, what?
Just like buses, right? Small compromise for Pret there, probably 2 or 3 tenths having to go in narrow into turn 6 onto that back straight. So he wouldn't have been best pleased, but could have been worse. And I think Calami is probably going to catch him just before the end of the lap, which will also be an awkward point to overtake potentially into 14. So Calami will just be trying to alert him, and interestingly not flashing the headlights just yet, trying to let Framuth just crack on with what he's doing. This is the point where I thought it would happen. Into 14 is a very awkward overtake. Framuth holding the inside. Calami reading that as he's been given space, but he has not, and it's the gold and black battle, isn't it? And Calami has lost a lot of time and really get a track limit for that as well.
Well, he wasn't just off the track, he was almost a third of a car width over the white lines, not once but twice, into 14, out of 14. Has got past the Lamborghini, but you know what? Actually, a 10th of a second gained on that lap by this man, Philippe Pret. And in the background of the shot, yes, the move has been made by Calami, but he will be cursing. Would he been better to wait for the exit of turn 14 and try to make a move coming out of the corner, but he didn't know where Oliver Framuth was going to place the Lamborghini. He went for the outside. Unfortunately, there was no outside, or not staying within the legal bounds of the circuit.
Yeah, and always easier with hindsight, isn't it? And, that's just a shame because that has really lost momentum as well, and the gap's grown again up to 4.3 now. Again, no more traffic now till the end of the race, so this is clean with just under 15 minutes remaining. And again, he just needs to knuckle down and try and hustle this number 7 Maserati up there. And you can see the time he was gaining, over half a second, just under. And then there was that time loss with the traffic on the last time by.
I don't think there's going to be a place change for 4th position overall, but Matt Homola has been doing fastest lap after fastest lap in this race, lapping easily, comfortably in the mid 1:35s, and I think the clock will run out on him. I think Luca Piri in his Audi will still stay in 4th place overall, but Matto's done a really, really good job. Victor Mraz, his teammate in the KTM we're looking at now, you know, got a bit out-muscled at the start of the race and went very quickly down from 2nd place on the grid down to about 6. A couple of moments we saw that maybe needed to be chalked up to experience, but certainly Matto Homola chasing, that's all he can do, and with each point of every lap he's taking chunks out of the margin in front to Luca Piri. Under 10 seconds between them now, but look, only 13 and a bit minutes remaining in this race. It'll be tight, but you've just got to go over and after every single target you have. There's Luca Piri, the driver he's hunting, and there is the KTM in the background. So that is another visual. The end of that lap is down to 8.3 seconds. So the gap is coming down in chunks, 1.5 seconds per lap for the KTM racer.
KTM looking after its tyres nicely. You can see the racing line has really been polished here today at Valencia. Obviously had the GT3 race, we've had French Carrera Cup, and we've got the Clios here, so it's a great support race. It isn't just the race you watch, the whole weekend, it's full of action, isn't it? And one of the best circuits to spectate out as well, Valencia. You can see the whole circuit from the main grandstand, and yeah, one of my favourites. The first place I ever drove a race car was here as well, back in 2004.
And what was that? Was that a Formula BMW?
Correct, yeah. BMW used to do the scholarship, and that's how I moved from karting into cars with the aid of it. So I remember hurtling around here as a 15-year-old kid, having no idea what I was doing, but had a great amount of fun.
It's only now you discovered there are 14 turns on the circuit, is that right?
Yeah, I used to just go straight. It was much easier. I thought it was a rallycross track, to be honest. But yeah, Dirk Muller, Jorg Muller, GT legends now, of course, were my first coaches. Andy Priaulx too, as well. And this corner here, actually, turn 11, was where I learned to heel and toe. And I remember it feeling like a ballroom dance to start with, and then suddenly it clicked, and it wasn't just my ankle bone coming out of my skin.
Yeah, well, that's always good to hear. Right, the gap between 1st and 2nd, 4.5 seconds. Just waiting to see for Calamia to cross the line. 4.1 seconds. It's coming down. Not fast enough. Is there going to be any traffic in front of them? Well, alas for Calamia, no. They turn into turn 1. Looking at the KTM coming out and down the start-finish straight. That's running in a 5th place overall. Matta Homola getting close. He's now 6.3 seconds to actually this one may come down to the run to the flag to see if a place change can happen, but I'd say Philippe Pret is weathering the storm. Certainly the traffic was kind when he came across the tail of Oliver Frameth, but you know, you grab what you can, and Philippe Pret leading by 4.1 seconds and the clock counting down. 11.5 minutes remain in this race.
Yeah, let's remember Pret and Piri and Frameth driving by themselves, so this is where the fatigue suddenly starts to kick in, where 50 minutes into the race, the last 10 is where you need to start to dig deeper as the car is only getting hotter. The airflow seems to be stifling, and that will start to be a factor for those 3 drivers. So the lead car of Pret, Luca Piri in 4th, and Oliver Frameth in 7th place right now.
Next car to do some lapping, we're looking at it. This wonderful high shot will be the KTM, the top of your screen, catching the black, a Lamborghini of Oliver Frameth. Oh, and look at the graphic. The last 2 laps, it's been 1/3 of a second with every lap that Luca Piri has gained on Stefan Racina. We've been talking about Piri being caught by Matta Homola in the battle for 4th place, but in turn, Piri, who looked very busy in his battle against the car that Racina's driving now, the Mikinek Motorsport Lamborghini in the first part of the race, he is now closing down on it. And he stayed, remember, Piri stayed out much longer than some of the rivals to make his move. Oliver Frameth stays out the way there in the top of the shot. That was neat and tidy. So Frameth has been very good at paying attention to who's coming up behind him. He slightly obstructed the battle for second, for the race lead. But apart from that, you know, sometimes you can't just make your car disappear.
Lead gap came down 7/10 on the last lap. Was that a mistake from Pret? Is that the pace of Calamia now? We've just spoken about fatigue. Is that starting to set in? And Philippe Pret will now be seeing this car in his mirrors. And again, that's just another driver thing. You have to keep your eyes forward. If you keep looking in your mirror, it's focus that could have been used looking forward.
Well, I tell you what, that wasn't a lap that involved any overtaking, but he lost a lot of time. His last lap time was the best part of 3/4 of a second slower than the chasing number 7 Maserati. So when it looked as though the storm had been weathered, that was when we were at about 14 minutes. Now we're only 10 minutes left and falling, and Mauro Calamia has definitely got the scent of potential victory in his nose. He's leading the Pro-Am class, he's 2nd overall, but he wants the overall win. But I tell you what, for Philippe Pret, who's leading the race, as long as he stays first or second in this race, it really doesn't matter. He'll get the maximum points in the AM class, and that should make him champion in the AM category for the second year running. Still with the second race at Valencia and the 2 races at the final round at Barcelona still to go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's looking more like a 3-second gap. 3.4 further around the lap. Maserati closing in. However, there still needs to be some overtaking. It may even get onto the nose to tail going onto the penultimate lap, but certainly coming down all the time.
Yeah, Philippe Pret as well, if it stays like this, would become champion as well, even with that Barcelona round left. Gap last time round, last laps were within a tenth of each other. It was slightly in favour of this 7 car, but not at a rate enough to close the gap before this race will end in 8.5 minutes from now.
Now Luca Piri within a second, 9/10 of a second on Stefan Racina. This is the battle for third place overall. Luca Piri running in the AM class, but he's got to look backwards as well, because catching him all the time, Matta Homola has closed from more than 10 seconds off his tail to just 4.5 seconds further back. He's in 5th place in the KTM. The Audi of Luca Piri, now he's going to be desperate to see if he can get past the Lamborghini of Stefan Racina as the battle of the front goes under 3 seconds. The gap from Philippe Pret in his Maserati to the chasing similar Italian car, the second Maserati, Mauro Calame. There it is, gold and black, catching all the time. The clock counts down. 8 minutes remain. 8 minutes out of an hour. Can he hang on? Philippe Pret to take his second outright win of the year. And come what may, he does appear to be set for his 7th class victory in what will be 9 races. What an outstanding season he's having in the AM class.
Really is, and the noise of these Maseratis is brilliant, isn't it? As they thunder past, you can hear the raucous note coming out the exhaust. Metronomic as well. The pace really hasn't ebbed and flowed that much for the car. They look after their tyres very, very well, it seems, this Maserati MT20 GT2. We have the leading car and the safety car as well of the same model, but very different. You can see it just looming in the left there, the fluoro yellow safety car ready if we were to need it. But the driving standards very high, and Racina has really been caught by Piri.
Yeah, and look in the background, being caught by Matta Homola. This is the point where Luca Piri is going to have to start thinking about his move. He's definitely thinking about it now. Not into turn 1. What can he do? Can he get a better exit potentially? Yeah, the Lamborghini getting very loose as it goes over the curbing on the outside. Not quite close enough, surely, to make a move. But as they battle, that's going to bring Matta Homola right in the mix. He was 3 seconds down on Piri as went across the start-finish line. But this pair tussle over third place overall. Homola could be closing, and we could have a complete change of this order. But also, we could have a change for the lead of the race. It's 2 Maseratis up front. Philippe Pret just 2.4 seconds clear of Mauro Calame. It is all closing up. One other factor I want to put in the mix. Our race first and second, the Maseratis are catching another car going through turn 8. They're getting very close to Andres Rokosh in the RT Project's Mercedes. So that could change things at the front of the field. Many things could change.
Again, we've just seen this Lamborghini just lose pace towards the end of the stint this time, Racina, so it wasn't a driver issue of Formula. It just seems to be the car works its tyres very hard. And Piri here, chance of an overall podium position, and AM overtaking a pro on track doesn't happen often, and you can see how hard they're working. The car's squirreling under traction out that slow speed corner at turn 11, hard on the throttle. Now they fly through into 12, through 13, flat out down the hill. This is where we've seen contact under braking for 14. Racina seems to be defending it. That will give a chance now for the Audi to get a better exit and potentially out-drag the Lamborghini down the pit straight.
Well, talking about the pit straight, we had the Maseratis go past the end of it. Just under 2 seconds between them now. Mauro Calame are really close, but importantly, it's where they clear the Mercedes of Andre Rokosh going up towards turn 1. Push and shove in the battle for third place. No inside line there. Stefan Racina had it blocked off very, very tightly indeed. But look, the KTM of Matta Homola, I said he'd catch them. He very nearly has. 3rd, 4th and 5th, almost nose to tail. Around turn 2 they go. The kink at turn 3, where the move's coming. And certainly talk about a grandstand seat that seems to be moving ever closer to the action. Matta Homola and the KTR down the slope to turn 4, right on the tail of Luca Piri. Now Piri's got a problem. Maybe, just maybe, this is salvation for Stefan Racina, or maybe, just maybe, he's about to lose 2 position. Who knows?
I fancy the KTM here for a final podium position. It's got a good drive out of the corner here onto the back straight. The Audi, though, quick, and I think it will pull away and then make it safe for Piri. Flashing the headlights, and it's going to get down the inside here for Homola. Great move. Late on the brakes, tucks it in well. Now what can he do about the Lamborghini?
Yeah, but I tell you what, there was a bit of a mistake from Luca Pirri going through turn 6. He just was very slow on the exit, and clearly he'd already seen the KTM was coming. But maybe he thinks, okay, you go on by, see what you can do about Stefan Racina. Maybe I'll come through as well. But certainly it looks as though the Audi was really starting to struggle. But also, just remember, of course, Luca Pirri's done the whole race, whereas Mata Homola is fairly fresh, having taken over around the halfway point. It could have just been a little bit of exhaustion from Pirri.
Oh, big slide, locked up the rear there, under braking, and that was a huge save there. It was like the handbrake was pulled up for Racina. Does well, but that would have been time lost and more life, taking out the rear tyre, and Homola would have seen that as well, so he'll know he'll be able to push hard. And we're getting a penalty as well for Racina, 5 seconds, so the battle is actually done. Will the team tell Homola? And he's just done too many track limits. He's let the car run wide, and again you can see his face grimacing there. Is that because the team have told him the penalty that's taken away the podium?
At this point, you mention it to your driver, just say, oh, just let him carry on fighting around the circuit. But some it would distract, some it would upset, others would just go, yeah, understood. Right, first to second, 2.2 seconds at the start of the lap, down to 1.9 seconds. Mauro Calamia getting closer and closer, but it looks like the next move change is place change is going to be coming here. Stefan Racina, surely with that Lamborghini, he hasn't got the traction. He's going to be, well, he protected his position there, but third place is looking tenuous at best because Mata Homola, he's been chasing from about 15 seconds back after the pit stops. He's caught, he's right on his tail. But actually, having been passed, Luca Pirri is now falling away in this battle, but maybe it's just simply that Mata Homola in the KTM is way quicker than the pair of them, and this is just a sort of artificial situation. But I do sense that Luca Pirri's tyres have rather gone away in the last few laps in that Audi. Yeah,
same for Racina. You can see him checking the mirror there, and the KTM with so much more pace, and Racina is defending so heavily. He's defending heavier as much as he's drifting this car around. Seems like it's lost all grip, front and rear axle. This is where he had the big lock up from the rear. He's firing it inside the KTM. Not with a straight line speed, so this is going to not ebb away on this straight potentially. He'll stay in the slipstream as they come with just over 2 minutes remaining. This battle rages on.
So it'll be 2 more laps for the pair of them, but up front, oh, a good 16 seconds clear is the Maserati battle, settled by under 2 seconds. Still Philippe Pret there, and still Mauro Calamia chasing, but not yet close enough to make a passing move. And now suddenly Luca Pirri has come right back into the mix. Maybe he just decided to have a couple of slightly slower laps to sort his tyres out, but third, fourth and fifth. Will this be the order? Will it be Lamborghini from KTM, from Audi in this GT2 battle? But I think we can safely say the winning car will be a Maserati because there are a pair of them up front ahead of this trio.
Yep, gap just back over 2 seconds, so Pret steadying the ship once more. Racina is so aggressive with the defence here. He's losing 3 seconds a lap to those Maseratis. Now the KTM has an overlap. Racina trying to squeeze him, leaves him space just about there. It was the smallest gap left between him. Racina so aggressive. I think Homola here just needs to try and get a run and send it down the inside. There's a possibility after the next left-right chicane to send it down the inside as they hit the brakes. Here, can he pop to the inside? No, because Racina fills the gap there beautifully. Now the KTM, can it get the cut back? Hard on the throttle, both equal on traction. The Audi just looming there, looks to the inside. Racina defends again. Remember, this Lamborghini has a 5-second penalty. This is all academic, but the drivers don't care. It's all about on-track position for them.
Certainly is very, very aggressive in defence. That has enabled Luca Pirri to close back in the Audi, but really it's a question of where and when Mata Homola is going to make the next move. They can see the first and second place Maseratis escaping, and I'd say they're using all the start-finish straight and luckily staying within the white lines, but surely this time Mata Homola will get the KTM in front as they get down towards turn. Oh, braking and just as late as it can, but the Lamborghini couldn't possibly turn into turn 1 at that point and may lose another position up here. He will lose both the positions when the 5-second penalty is applied after the end of the race. But, well, if you're in a battle, you might as well stay there.
That was a Slovak battle, wasn't it? Homola versus Racina, none of them particularly slow, and this Lamborghini particularly aggressive with his nature. It was fair, but very firm.
I'll tell you what, we need to look on this is the final lap at the Maseratis, because the race leading Philippe Pret Maserati has just been given a black and white track limits flag, so he's pushing as hard he can to the very end of this race. Looks set for an AM victory, but is he going to be in front of Mauro Calamia, the fellow Maserati driver, at the end of the race? Here comes Philippe Pret. The gap is big enough at just over 2 seconds for him to defend that, surely, to the end of the race. Calamia gave it a really, really good shot. Took over from Roberto Pampanini. but it looks as though he has simply run out. Car 11 is, yeah, looks like it's another 5-second penalty. It could be, well, he's gaining them all the time, and that's the car in that we've been looking at, the Lamborghini of Stefan Racina. He's going to have a host of penalties, but down to take the checkered flag and victory, overall victory from fellow Maserati driver is Philippe Pret from Mauro Calamia, and great to see the support there, and that was Stefan Otelli, Le Mans winner, up on the pit wall, very involved with that team, and you can just see the passion. His racing career is behind him.
Champion T-shirts.
Champion T-shirts, that is as fast as can be. So the AM victory in the bag. And that's why you go racing, to have fun, have a good scrap. And in the end, a real battle. And Luca Piri did, on that final lap, get ahead of Stefan Racina. And Stefan Racina, in the number 11 Lamborghini crew, are going to have a lot of penalties applied, which may drop them back another position on the track, possibly when Andros Rokos come through. But victory led all the way. Wasn't as simple as that sounds, but took the overall victory, the AM class, for the 7th time in 9 races so far this year. And last year's champion, Philippe Pret, is showing he's absolutely got the measure of his rivals, but an outright victory, that's extra special when you're clinching a championship, and so he can enjoy the rest of this season very much indeed. He'll enjoy the racing, the pressure is off, the job is done, and he too took it to the very edge in terms of penalties, or getting close to penalties for exceeding track limits. One more and he'd picked up a 5-second penalty, and that would have dropped him back behind Mauro Calamia. But overall victory and victory to Philippe Pret, and LP Racing will be delighted with that, particularly as the boss Luca Piri moved up on that final lap to 4th position overall. So smiles all round for them. And I think some time penalties will be applied, and Stefan Racina will fall. Yes, it's been applied. He's given 15 seconds of time penalties, which but he'd already lost out and ended up in 5th position. In the end, it didn't cost him a thing, because the time penalty was not enough to drop him behind Andres Rokos, who ended up in a lap down with just 35 laps on the board. But 36 laps overall. Pro-Am class victory went to Mauro Calamia, 2nd place overall, but plenty of racing going on. We may have started with 8 cars, but there was enough to watch there to keep us royally entertained. And so it was 2 Maseratis, 1st and 2nd. Philippe Pret from Mauro Calamia, Matteo Homola chasing right the way to the end, and building on the work of Victor Mraz, took 3rd place overall. So well done to all involved. Here are the results. Philippe Pret taking victory for Maserati, 2 seconds at the end. And then Roberto Pampanini from Mauro Calamia, 2nd place for them. Victor Mraz started. Matteo Homola absolutely finished to take the KT up to 3rd place overall. And 2nd in the AM class, Luca Piri, another driver going solo, 4th overall, just overhauling Stefan Racina in the Micaniac Motorsport Lamborghini. So what a battle at the front though, but it was Maserati from Maserati, and that was a great result at the top of the table there for Philippe Pret, and it gave him the AM Championship to boot. So well done to the LP Racing Maserati team there, and clearly very proud son on the pit wall, Louis Pret, up there to celebrate his father's success. It was a real chase, but Maserati's dominating here. Temperatures starting to fall, but certainly the drivers won't feel as though the temperature's fallen at all when they get out of the cars. That was hot work, and for 3 of the drivers, they did all 1 hour on their own, so that certainly would have been quite a workout. And the fans, it's great having the cars brought round to be put in front of them, so they have a chance to really experience the conditions and the joy of the drivers who've not only had a good result, but also, in the case of Philippe Pret, landed a championship title as well. 2nd year is the AM champion. There's Stefan Otelli to bang the drum on his bonnet. Fellow Monegasque racer, of course. Stefan and Philippe Pret will be tired, but you can be sure very, very happy indeed.
Son Louis there as well. What a way to celebrate. What quite a cool dad to have, GT2 champion. And you can see the embrace between coach and driver. It's an intense relationship, and that's speaking from a coach perspective, because you have to be negative, you have to critique to improve, and Philippe Pret, a successful businessman, will appreciate that from Stefan Otelli. And now I think it finally sinks in that he's done it, and he's the champion of the AM class in GT2 in 2025.
I mean, he came here with a very, very tidy points advantage, but it's still about delivering it. But to do it with a race to go just within this meeting, let alone 2 races at Barcelona, takes the pressure off. Now he can just totally enjoy the rest of the season and go racing just for the purity of it all. Andres Rocos climbing out. He built on the work of Pirelli, so that had an extra run through the pits for contact, it seems. But again, it's all about gaining experience. And they've had a fine season, the pair of them. Learning as they go. The best ever result between the pair of them was a couple of shared 5th places early in the season at Zandvoort. But they've, again, more experience. Another circuit conquered. That's what it's all about. So the fans milling around, getting a chance to get up close to the cars. And yeah, it's nice to see some applause down there. And let's go down and hear the thoughts of the AM Class winner, AM Class champion, race winner. His name is Philippe Pret with Alex.
Philippe Pret, my word, 7 poles, 7 wins, and you win the AM title yet again. So deserved.
I love it. I want to do it again. It was a very, very difficult job today. I have the team, my personal trainer, and it was okay.
How aware of the pressure were you from behind?
Pressure is not pressure, it's an inside pressure. It's a breathing, that is what very difficult. Finally I get to the end and we're happy.
Congratulations, really well done, well deserved.
Yeah, well done, Philippe Pret. Yeah, a lot of pressure there, but I love the fact he said the pressure was breathing. Did the whole race solo, led from pole position, drove absolutely beautifully in that LP Racing Maserati. Pressure came on at the end. Mauro Calamia getting closer and closer. He could have let him by. He'd have still won the AM class and the AM title. But when you've got a chance of an outright victory, you're not going to let it go. And eventually the margin was some 2 seconds. Looks like it might have come down a bit more, but he worked the back markers very nicely indeed. And it was about not making mistakes. And Philippe Pret did not put a wheel wrong. So well done to him. And we'll go down now to join Alex with the Pro-Am winners who took 2nd overall.
Mauro, Roberto, brilliantly done. Roberto, was that the drive of your season?
Yeah, that was really my drive for my season. I start perfect, and I saw that I could go in the front, but Brett was very tough to overtake him, and then I pushed a lot, and then my tires go over, and so I get a little bit back.
The way that you fought back, though, was something else. Congratulations. You boys are very much keeping in the title battle now.
I told you before, we have 1 goal this weekend and we have to. Otherwise, the championship will be gone. So for tomorrow, the same as today, full push.
Full push, full push. The gloves are now off, right? Well done, boys.
Full push. Drivers never like to have to spend their time thinking about how many points they've got, what's the maths. They want to know what the tyre temperatures are and race on. But class victory in Pro-Am, 2nd place overall, keeps the title battle open in the Pro-Am class. And certainly Broniak, Formagnac and Stefan Racina still lead the way, but their margin has come down. Before this race, it was 45 points. Somewhat less, but it's still going to be a mountain to climb for the Dynamic Motorsport Maserati crew. But all you can do is take on each race as it comes. It sounds like a sporting cliche, nearly outright victory today, but there were maximum points in the Pro-Am class, and that is what counts for Mauro Calamia. And the very, very happy Roberto Pampanini did a fantastic job. Nearly took the lead, not quite, but they took the maximum point haul. Photos all around for the Pret family down there. Race winner in the middle, that's Father Philippe Pret. 2 places to the right-hand side of the photo. Son Louis, who's taking part in it all. And between them there, Luca Piri, team boss. Stefan Ortelli in the thick of the kissing action down there. And great to see such happiness just around the outside of the podium. The drivers will be called up to the podium soon. And of course, we've got the 2 classes AM. We now know the identity of the champion for the 2nd year running. That is Philippe Pret. And let's take a look at the highlights. It was a brilliant start from pole position for Philippe Pret. A challenge from the 2nd of the Maseratis, the gold one of Roberto Pampanini. Already Victor Marat's getting muscled out of the KTM. He'd lose a position, then going a little bit wide, losing another one. Luca Piri going up the inside in his Audi. But up front, just enough was being done. Brilliant start from Petrolisa in the RTR projects. Mercedes, but he then started to go down the order and it turned into a real tussle in the middle of the field. The Maserati is first and second, Pirelli are hanging onto their tail, but just enough was done. Little bit of a mistake there from Roberto Pampanini, and that let Philippe Pret get clear, and then immediately Pirelli pounced, got up into second place, but immediately he ran slightly too deep into the corner going into turn 8 and lost the position all over again. And then contact, and round went Petrolisa, and off went the KTM of Victor Mraz, and eventually the penalty and the drive-through that went with that went to the Mercedes driver. Then pit stop time. Philippe Pret didn't get out, and he stayed on board. He was driving solo. And then in behind, you had the battle with Stefan Rosina in the Lamborghini on the left of your screen, and the flying Mauro Calamia getting it sorted, moving up into second place. And then Rosina was in a further battle. Mato Homola came through. Luca Piri applying loads of pressure, but on to the final lap with a 2-second margin, finishing it with a 2-second margin, clincing the AM champion with an outright victory. Philippe Pret chased home by Mauro Calamia. Maserati from Maserati first and second. And so the podium still to come. Great to see so many people down in the afternoon sunshine here at the circuit. That's just on the opposite side of the pit building. There's a huge grandstand looking down over all 14 corners of the circuit. Brilliant place to watch racing, the circuit Ricardo Tormo. And a great place to be in the heat of the action. It's a real treat. Very seldom, very few circuits can you get up close to a podium. The podium is normally on the pit side, for which the public won't have access, but it's a very good mix there. And there is Philippe Pret now concentrating on getting the breathing done. I'm not sure he did too much breathing in the closing laps of the race. Great to see Mauro Calamia, who came second, and his teammate Roberto Pampanini waiting to go up on the podium. So much time is shared by drivers, and it's good to see such respect between them all.
Yeah, the worst bit is you always end up on a similar flight or at the airport, so you spend a weekend together, then you crash into each other and have an awkward coffee at the airport on a Sunday night. And Rosina not looking well. He's worked hard in that stint and just trying to hydrate, and I think Fulminac can look on at him going, I know how you feel, that was me 35, 40 minutes ago, but emotionally drained as well as physically drained, it would seem.
And also, unfortunately for him, he was passed by a couple of drivers in the last couple of laps, but that Lamborghini was hanging on for dear life. Certainly, Stefan Rosina had wrestled every ounce of performance he could out of the tyres, and the last few laps just simply there was nothing left to give. But he's always been a fighter, did a fantastic job, but in the end got passed by Luca Piri. And a few laps before, of course, Matt Homola took the KTM up into third place overall, but that was always something that was coming. He tried his hardest, Rosina, just simply couldn't hang on at the end. It's a great hub here at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo outside Valencia, and now the podium ceremony sounds as though it's about to kick into action. Crowd reacting as the driver's about to be called up. Okay, there we have the drivers being called up in reverse order, and it's the number 11 crew for Mikaniek Motorsport, powered by Bugira. It's Broniek, Formaniak and Stefan Rosina, third overall. Broniek Simon has the longer hair. Second place in class with a real charging drive, and that's Mato Homola. And it's KTM and Victor Mraz who started the race, but it's Dynamic Motorsport taking the Pro-Am honours here. Second place overall for Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia, up onto the stop step of the podium for the Dynamic Motorsport duo. Some podium ceremonies are nice, polite enterprises. This one is full-blooded and I think playing to the crowd, and it's a big crowd down there, so extra special sense of showbiz down there in the paddock. So as the strains of the Italian national anthem fade away, Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia will just enjoy life on the top of the podium. Stefan Racina's gained a bit of colour back in his cheeks there. He was the driver who pushed so hard to try and keep his Lamborghini third place overall on the track, but couldn't quite hang on. But certainly his effort was clear for all to see. Mato Homola and Victor Maratz, they take second in the Prime class and third overall in the race. But on the top step, Dynamic Motorsport take winning team trophy. There it is. And for Mauro Calamia and Roberto Pampanini, their trophies will follow. And here they have it. Still have enough strength to raise their trophies, raise their thumbs. Victory in the Prime class, second place overall today for the drivers on the top step of the podium. But that means an AM driver won outright, and we'll come to them very soon indeed. So, what a race meeting there. That is the end of GT2 European Series. For today at least, we have the second race here at Valencia tomorrow. Do make sure you join us for that, and we'll see what will unfold